Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Fast Willie Jackson, number 3 from 1977. This is a kind of a curious comic book series in comic book history. It's basically in the herculespetix Academy, not due to its own merits. It's just because it is such an odd, curious comic. And why it's curious is because it was a black publisher and he decided to make a black Archie and sell it on newsstands. Looks just like any other comic at the time, full color. It didn't have a comics code seal though, but it was sold on newsstands, probably right next to Archie. And it lasted 7 issues between 76 and 77. And the publisher was Fitzgerald Publishing. They started in the mid-60s, I think 66. They had this series called Golden Legacy, which would do biographies of famous African-American people in history. And it was almost like classic illustrated, kind of boring, Apparently they had some mainstream artists, though, would do work for them, like Don Perlin, guys like that. But in 76, this guy, Bertrand Fitzgerald, decided to do something, entertaining and hopefully get some of that market in the 70s, after blaxploitation films were big. A lot of TV shows with black characters like Good Times, Sanford and Son were top-rated shows. So he figured he'd get in on that action. I love the logo, really nice, really appealing, and this is very odd, a black Santa and a white Santa. There's no Christmas theme in the rest of this issue at all, and the black Santa saying, "Can you dig it?" and the other guy saying, "Yeah, I can dig it." It's very strange, but as we can see, very Archie looking. This artist worked for Archie. His name's Gus Lemoyne. And according to the sources on the internet, he drew all the interior pages as well. And Bertrand Fitzgerald, the publisher, wrote them. He wrote all these comics. But yeah, look how Archie that is. And just to give you a flavor of the kind of humor, it's like, what does Frankie have that I don't have? Just about every foxy mama in Mo City. And, it's very much like an Archie joke. That's Fast Willie Jackson right there. His tough but tender friend Hannibal. And there's Frankie, who's the ladies' man. Let's crack this open. Just like Archie, all the characters get little stories. Here's JoJo, who's very much like JJ from Good Times. Even the kids in the letter page later on mention that. And, just doing silly little gags. First story is Let's Dance, Officer Flag. Officer Flag is like the heavy in the strip. Of course, it's not like real life. He's not that heavy. He doesn't, beat these kids up and murder them. But he's basically, always tries to put the kibosh on any time the kids are having fun. He's kind of a jerk. He just doesn't like fun, I guess. And he hears the kids having a party. And of course, he's going to stop it because he doesn't like fun. The kids are rocking out with their band, making a lot of noise. He thinks the music sounds like crap. And then they change their music. They play a certain song, and he likes it. I don't know what the difference is. They don't really describe the music. But he says it's like the good old days. He starts dancing. And Dee Dee, one of the kids, she's like, how about that? He's got natural rhythm. And she starts dancing with him. And, he's an old fogey, so he was like, this reminds me of the McGuire sisters, jitterbugging and bopping around when I was just out of the army. And it has a happy ending where the two cultures meet and have a good time. Here's Jose, the guy who owns the local diner, in Sense. Very odd logo for this. It's like this cosmic logo like Jim Starlin would do. But this comic is just a typical gag strip. Fast Willie in the Shakes. And one day, this is a kind of an odd story. It doesn't really make sense. But for some reason, Willie gets the shakes one day. He can't stop shaking. Sister Zola, the local fortune teller, decides to ooh, I've got an idea. So she says, oh, Satan, you got Satan in you. You got to come in here. I'll cure you. Of course, you got to pay me first. But all of his friends are saying, nope, go for that bullshit. But Willie's like, I got to do something. These shakes won't stop. So she gives him some magic seeds or something. But then we hear a voice from off screen here, off panel. And we're introduced to Cleo, Madame Zola's granddaughter from the West Indies. And she's one fine chick, apparently. She's pretty cute. And as soon as Willie sees her, his shakes stop. For no discernible reason. And then Zola kicks him out. I guess she doesn't like them ogling her granddaughter. Later on at the diner, they're like, hey, I think maybe Cleo's a witch. They all start suspecting that. So they're like, one of us has got to go out with her and get close to her and find out if she really is a witch. So, of course, they all look at Frankie, the ladies' man. So the story ends, but it actually continues to the next story, Frankie's night out. So they say, okay, Frankie, you got to ask her out. And Frankie's like, I don't know how to do that. I've never asked a woman out. I'm such a stud that women have always asked me out. So I don't know how. So they make the date for him. And they're like, yeah, you could take her to this rock concert. But all the tickets are sold out. But as Cleo comes to the diner, and all of a sudden there's 2 tickets to the show almost magically appearing on the floor. So that makes me even more convinced that Cleo's got some mojo. And they all just kind of like, oh, see you later, we gotta go. They're kind of scared. So later on, they're back at the diner at night, and they say, "How was your date with Cleo, Frankie? Tell us all about it." And he's like, "She is a witch. There was like 100 fine women at that concert. Not one of them asked me for a date. She must have put a spell on me." Here we have, if the suit fits, wear it. And we meet Jabbar. Jabbar is like the political, black youth. He's kind of radical. And Frankie's giving him grief for wearing a dashiki, traditional African clothing. Like, you look weird, man. Why don't you just American? And he's like, I like it. It's comfortable. And then the stupid gag at the end is Dee Dee runs up and says, Frankie, I got you a present. It's a dashiki, just like Jabbar wears. It's so dumb. A lot of the guys on the internet kind of claimed that this comic probably failed because Bertrand Fitzgerald wasn't a very good writer. He hadn't really written much. Instead of hiring a writer, he just decided to do it all himself. But I guess if you read a lot of Archie comics, you might think the same thing, Here's another little nod to diversity. There's a Jewish delicatessen offering lox and bagels and herring, and you never see that in Archie. Right on the letters page, right on to the editor. I love the way this is laid out with the handwritten letters. I just wish letter pages look like this. Well, I wish there were letter pages. I guess they're kind of over in most comics. It's very odd how many kids write in wanting to see more of Officer Flag It's really odd. I was thinking, like, are those the white kids who were reading this comic who felt underrepresented and wanted more of Officer Flag for that reason? Very strange. But these do definitely seem to be written by little kids. It's not like the college level letters you'd get like at reading a Marvel comic. They even had like some advice stuff. Personal, too distressed. Tell your mother what happened. She loves you and does not want to see you get hurt. You'd see those in the old romance comics, letter pages. Rock, Willie, rock. And this is basically just Willie admits that he wants to be a rock star when he grows up. And all of his friends are just totally making fun of him and laughing at him. Yeah, this whole thing is just them ribbing him. Kind of being jerks. But they're his friends, so they're like, yeah, we'll start a band. We'll help you out. So maybe he's on the way to be a big star. Here's those Golden Legacy comics I was mentioning earlier. And they were just sold perennially. Shit, I'm sorry, I can't say that word. They weren't periodicals. They would just sell those for decades. I think they were selling these into the 80s to schools and such. Fast Willie in, if it's relative. And this is a joke you'd never see in Archie. He's basically saying how his Aunt Millie and Mr. Brown are visiting us. And Dee Dee says, why do you call her Aunt Millie, but you call your uncle Mr. Brown? He says, I have to. He won't let me call him uncle. Because his name is Tom. It's a little Uncle Tom reference. I love this back page subscription ad. Just showing all the characters. We're holding up little signs. There's a few people we haven't seen yet who I assume are in the other issues. Maria Martinez. And, maybe that's Jose's daughter. And this one, I want to read these comics. Ms. Jane Fonda. So I don't know if that was they could get in some digs at the feminist movement. The women's libbers, as they were known back then. It's kind of amazing how beautiful the condition of this comic is. I bought it in the 90s. And so it was probably sitting in somewhere for 20 years. I was wondering, my theory is that, you know, a new publisher had such bad distribution. Maybe a lot of these never made it to the newsstands. So they were just sitting in a warehouse for a long time, untouched. And then finally, somebody liquidated the warehouse and they went onto the market. Because I was lucky enough to find this in a quarter bin. You can't find, I've never seen another issue since. For 20 years now, I've been trying to find the other 6 issues. I haven't even seen one at any price. So I would love to get the rest, but I probably never will. I'm not going to go on the internet and pay $50 for some, it's not a very good comic. Like I told you, I pretty much have it just for historical curiosity, but I like it. I don't know. For some reason, I'm glad it's in the Academy. Here's a little postscript that's very odd. When I was reading the internet, that fucking weirdo, Erik Larsen, man, that guy is such an oddball. He brought back Fast Willie Jackson. And I guess in this, you know, he aged in real time, so he's like a middle-aged guy, older guy. And apparently he marries Dee Dee, and it doesn't go well. So I assume they get divorced. And I want to read that issue so bad. I guess Erik Larsen assumed that these must be in public domain by now, which they probably are. So that's kind of exciting. Maybe an artist can just make new Fast Willie Jackson stories for us to read. It would be definitely a different tone. It seems like it wouldn't be this lighthearted. It would almost be surreal and fantastical to have it this lighthearted. But there you have it. Fast Willie Jackson number 3. I hope you enjoyed it. It's kind of a fun, weird little comic. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of comic book studies.